We've all heard it before. Be authentic in marketing. But what does that really mean for businesses, especially in today's digital landscape, where consumers are bombarded with messages and can sniff out the inauthenticity a mile away? Let's face it, gone are the days of that stock photo, that generic messaging. Consumers crave connection, transparency, and brands that stand for something. So, how can you and us as a community double down on authentic marketing and build the trust with our audience? Stay tuned to find out more. Welcome to the Brand Builder Podcast. I'm your host, Amir Tabrizi. I'm a side hustle digital marketer turned agency owner who has managed over $2 billion in marketing budgets. I'm obsessed with the brand building process through video content, social media, and all things organic, leveraging search engine optimization and the power of Google. Every week here on the Brand Builder Podcast, we dive deep into the dynamic realm of digital marketing, unveiling the tools, strategies, and insights that can empower your brand in today's digital-centric world. Not just go over some quick hacks and tricks that will yield you no long-term growth. Whether you're a startup looking to make a splash or an established brand aspiring to reach new heights, our podcast is here to illuminate the path towards your success. So stay tuned to my workshop-style solo shows with the occasional in-depth interviews with industry experts. We don't just talk about digital marketing. We decode it, demystify it, and help you leverage it for your brand's growth. So stay tuned into Brand Builders Podcast and embark on your journey towards becoming a titan in the digital marketing arena. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brand Builder Podcast. We are back again with another topic that we've seen trend a lot. As always, we're here with Robert Garcia, my co-host, who is always bringing in insights with what he does with his digital landscaping with the real estate industry and some of the other things that he does through content. Today's show is going to be all about authenticity and how it works with the quote-unquote marketing with realness. Now, there's three pillars, or let's just say there is three legs to this stool. There is the why authenticity matters. There's going beyond buzzwords, right? So what does it actually look like? And then we're going to give you action items or practical tips to put your mission in motion. And that's something that you'll hear me say sometimes throughout today's episodes, mission in motion. Because when you put your mission, what you want to achieve, what your mission for starting any or whatever company, or whether it's your personal, your business, whatever it is, whatever that mission is, how can you put it in motion in today's digital age? Mr. Garcia, how you doing, my friend?
Good, man. How's everything? Thank you for having me over.
Yeah, you've become a cornerstone of the show, so I appreciate you agreeing to join us on a consistent basis. Tell me, what does the word marketing with realness, what does that mean to you? Like, you hear that, like, what is the first few thoughts that come into your head?
In essence, it's I think we are all sick and tired of the fake marketing, right? The thing where, like, it's funny because recently I came across a video of this person saying what it means to be a realtor, and they were just mocking the industry. But in essence, this person was like wearing these Gucci shoes, like a Prada belt, and an expensive Burberry, purse, and driving this expensive car, and lots of cash in their pockets. I mean, it is not the case. That is not a good way to build brand awareness and authenticity. So it is in reality just to connect with people at the level they feel very comfortable. If you're not able, you see, audiences are always skeptical of what the person on the other end, especially the screen, it's saying in today's kind of market, right? Because you don't know if it's AI or whatever it is. So
Sure.
But the thing is, when you connect with these people and they think that you are authentic, they think you're trying to build a bridge where they are going to come from their safe island to cross all the way to where you want them to be. Is still feeling honest, is still safe and protected. I think if you are able to do that in today's market, I think it's definitely no question that you are able to do that. And I think I always refer to Apple products, right? Apple products are like, Those guys at the Apple store don't even have to sell. I mean, people, half of the customers that come to Apple already like decided what they're going to be buying. They just come there
Sure.
to say, hey, do you have it in stock? Yeah, yes, yay or nay, right? So
Yeah.
we really don't have a lot of brands that are able to do that. So when you are able
Sure.
to do something like that, it's very good.
Yeah. And there's, I think, like when you're real, right? Like when you talk about or share what you stand on with your audience, you also build brand loyalty to your brand. Like if people are like, you know what, Robert's real, Amir's fake, and they're able to build that trust or that brand with you, they're more likely to just, you know, build loyalty with you. So that's to your point of like when you just mentioned Apple. Like I think that's where that comes from a lot, because you can build that loyalty with a brand because you know what they stand for, right? So we'll segue that into one of my favorite things, which is why authenticity matters. We've actually done an episode on being authentic and authentic marketing and all of that stuff. So this is kind of the second go around at this topic. And the reason we're doing it for a second go around is because it's something that we've seen the recent NAR stuff that's been happening specifically for like Robert's world, right? So, and we don't have to get into the whole thing because I don't think it's necessary to really talk about right now. But the realness of it, you know, people may not understand, right? From a consumer perspective, like when somebody's selling their home, they're probably just thinking to themselves, oh, I get to save money because X, Y, and Z. And there's just so many things that go into it. And again, we don't need to get into it. But I think in that sense, like somebody's world that shifted the way that your world did, or the industry itself did, being authentic and building that loyalty is what's going to get you to kind of push through whatever changes or whatever the shifting of the market will look like, because you're authentic, because you build loyalty, because you're talking about it, right? You're not, I'm not asking you to be a lawyer and explain it to me, but you're being authentic, like, and it matters, right? So the consumer is bombarded with marketing messages every day, right? Like one of the things that I personally dislike, I'm not going to use the word hate, but I personally dislike is this like guarantee that marketing agencies are doing. We guarantee you to get you 10 booked appointments within the first 7 days or you don't pay. I
Hmm.
right before we got on to the record this, I just saw one of them. Or I just saw one of them. It was like, we guarantee you to get you 10 booked appointments, or one of them was towards real estate agents or real estate teams trying to hire agents. And it was like, we will get you 7 booked appointments on your calendar within the first 7 days, or you don't pay. If you scroll down, literally in capital, you know, letters and bolded, it says, we do not guarantee blah, blah, blah. Like it's so fake and people are hearing it. And it's so frustrating to hear because you're not, the consumer is going to sniff that out. So now when I have conversations, and this sucks because it's so real for me, when I have conversations, as soon as a consumer says, "Well, what's your guarantee?" I don't do this, but I kind of want to just hang up and be like, I don't like you're looking for something that doesn't exist. Like you want me to help you grow your business through leads and things like that. Of course it happens, but it takes time. So that realness, right? Like the BS messaging that goes out is what's, it's the tangent, and the tangent I just went on. And I'm sure you see it all the time as well. You know, so they can sniff out that inauthenticity from a mile away. In fact, studies show that the consumer crave genuine connections with brands they trust. So
Hmm.
how can we leverage authenticity to stand out and grow our businesses? One of the things that I absolutely love is core values, right?
Hmm.
And if you go to your website, if you go to the Capital Crest website, the real estate website that the company that Robert owns, if you go to that website, your core values are like in the first or second fold, I think, right? Like it's right up there. And then the your approach to when you started your new adventure with Capital Crest, like it's not a, it's not like a full blown like I'm the leader and then everybody else falls under me. It's more like, hey, we are a partnership with all the agents that are in my group. And that seeps into your that seeps from your core values into what you do on your day-to-day basis, right? So as someone who has watched you grow from where you were before to like what you're doing now, that to me, like that is how you leverage your authenticity to stand out and grow out from business. So for me, I would say like, what are your core values? Now, don't give me a list of like 20 core values. Like pick your top 7. What are the 7 important things that when people think about your brand, what are the 7 things that should come about? What should they know about you? Then take that and then think about your mission and vision, right? If your vision is to be the best marketing agency around, what's your like? That's your vision, but what's your mission? Like, it's through what? Transparency? Is it through helping small? Like, put your mission in motion. So one of the missions that we have as the marketing agency, as Agency 270, is to bring content and just share the secret sauce with the consumer, with whoever it is. Like I have nothing to hide. There's the DIY version of marketing agencies, and then there's the do it for you version of marketing agencies. I want to bring you the content. You can decide what to use from there, but that authenticity and building your mission in motion is huge. So Robert, why do you think authenticity is so important in marketing today?
I think that the most relevant point of your question is, let me give you a little bit of background from the real estate perspective.
Please.
A lot of people, when they come to real estate, the first thing they do is they come to the industry and they said, okay, your job is to talk to as many people so that way you can convert at a higher rate. And if you think about it, it makes sense from a mathematical standpoint. The
Mm-hmm.
more chances, the more opportunities, definitely going to nail it down more often because that's just the reality. But
Right.
then, but then you're not being authentic, because then you're going to be dealing with people that are just assholes or jackasses, that they just want to
Mm-hmm.
do something, that if your goal is only to do it for to score high on your numbers, you're going to end up working with people that are totally opposite of who you are or who you want to be or where you want to take this. So
Sure.
to me, I had a coach that always told me, he says, hey, the sooner you can eliminate that lead that you're speaking with, the better it is. I say, like, eliminate. What do you mean eliminate? I don't want to eliminate my leads. I want them to work with me. He says,
Right.
no, the sooner you identify if this person aligns with who you are, the better it is. Otherwise, you're gonna be chasing this person just to
Yeah.
realize that he doesn't align with who you are. So that
Yeah.
really always kind of like stuck with me. So to
Mm-hmm.
me, that is the reality. If this is people that are not going to do it, then I don't want to work with this person. And I think I mentioned to you on Friday, had a case, this person that it was referred to
Yeah.
me, it came to the area ready to start showing houses, and then ended up just really just seeing houses with another real estate agent when I've been in conversation with this person for 2 weeks, and I asked to sign an agreement with me, and she wasn't opposed. She just said, I wanted to do it when I meet you face to face.
Sure.
And then just the excuse that she gave me, to me, was just like, I said, definitely this person did not line up with my values. And definitely I made a huge mistake about not finding out from this person way ahead of time. So
Right.
that way I would eliminate it. So authenticity is everything in this industry. And that just, that if it needs to align to who you are, your core values, your mission and vision. So you asked me to just highlight a few of my core values. Show up. That is
Mm-hmm.
something to me. It is just like, what do you mean show up? Like, don't you have to? Yeah, you show up. You show up to do the things that you're supposed to do for your clients every day.
Right.
That is called consistency, if you want to put it in other words. You tell a client, hey, I'm going to be calling in that neighborhood, cold calling until I
Mm-hmm.
find you a house. Well, you better do that, because that client is holding you accountable for that. And that if that's part of your core values, you do it.
Yeah.
Um, Innovation, that's another thing for me. I'm always looking to innovate the ways that we can be relevant to sell real estate. You see, my long term here is to be the real estate firm of team of choice, not for one transaction, but for that transaction, any other particular transactions, and for then generations to come. My goal is that
Right.
when mom and dad buy this house, and if I'm still around this world, then they also call me when the kids are ready to go home and buy something, want to buy an investment property. So, and
Sure.
trust, I mean, trust is important. So those are just little things that if they don't line up who you are,
Yeah.
I think you're making a huge mistake.
Sure. I mean, I think that's huge. And yeah, you did tell me about. I think one of the things you told me when you called me and we were chatting about that specific interaction with that client was that, you know, as business owners, and I know you have experienced this too. As business owners, we sometimes will have a hard time saying no to a prospect, even though we may know they don't align with us. We just say, "Hey, they're gonna buy something with me, and that's money, right? That's food. That's food in layman's terms. Let's just put it. That's food off my table if I don't take that call or if I don't have that conversation. I have the same thing. Like you and you know, one of the things you mentioned to me is that like they didn't value your time. So I think one of the main things it's like outside of authenticity, like if one of your core values to you is like transparency and trust, right? And and respect. If you allow the client to disrespect you off the top, what do you think they're going to do to you throughout the whole process,
Hmm.
right? So if I say to like myself, like we work with a lot of roofers, and roofers that are doing less than 10K a month in revenue, right? So I'm not a good fit for them because our products are priced at a point where between the time they do the sale to the revenue to the whatever, all of that fun stuff to what they actually take away, their profit margins, like we're not a good fit. I don't stop the conversation because my mission is still to give as much advice as I can, whether it's on a sales call or whatever. That's still the mission. Don't get me wrong, but I also make sure it's respectable. So if they want to
Hmm.
keep the conversation for more than that discovery time, which is 30 minutes, and say, hey, listen, Robert, let's set up another time. I do have another call to get to. So to go back to your point, like you respected your time and your energy and your effort by simply saying you're not the right person for me. Yes, it's going to cost me thousands of dollars, right? That one transaction is going to cost, it's going to take thousands of dollars out of my pocket, but it's the stress and the disrespect and the lack of simply just being truthful with me, is that worth it, right? So I think that's again like it goes with authenticity because you're staying true to you and your brand, and that's
Hmm.
huge. And I think as business owners we tend to just build that out on there. So how can authenticity help build trust and brand loyalty? How have you, as someone who does a lot of content as well, right? I mean, you're no shy to content. How can authenticity build that trust and brand loyalty, and how has it looked like for you when you are doing your content or when you're just talking about who you are? Like, what? How has that actually helped you?
So when you create content, you really have to create the content with not being selfish, meaning, oh, I'm just going to do a market a update of what's going on the market. I mean, let's be honest, guys. Anybody that wants to know what's a market update, what's
Love the
going
market
on,
updates.
yeah, I mean, you just go online and say, hey, what's happening in my neighborhood, right? So
Yeah,
you really don't add any value, but when you really create content along the lines of, you know, new squatting laws in the United States, right?
yeah,
The importance of the best return investment on your upgrades, or the importance to have a estate planning for you and your loved ones. So when you really start creating things that other people said, oh, didn't think about that. I think Robert's job ended when they helped me purchase the house, and then they say goodbye, and
yeah,
that was the end, and he gave me a gift at settlement, and we gave him a good review, and I thought the job ended right
yeah,
there. No, actually the job starts right there. I mean, the process of buying something is just a process,
yeah,
and it ends the date of settlement, true, but that doesn't mean that you that's the end of it. So
yeah,
as realtors, I think we really failed to take care of of our clients. And then, you help someone purchase a house, and a couple years later, you see that house go on the market with another real estate agent, and the realtor says, "Wait a minute, why they didn't call me?" And the first question, as a coach, when I was coaching other realtors, the first thing I will say, I ask these persons, so "What did you do to deserve that phone call?" and they're like, well, I helped them purchase the house. I thought they will give me a call. I says, no, you didn't stay authentic to that relationship. You only were selfish to be only to get the benefit of they working
Yeah.
with you because they needed you at that given time, or you were the only one available, but you didn't stay
Sure.
authentic to that. So being authentic is, it's really continue to care beyond the
Mm-hmm.
point, and when it goes to the creating the content, is to really create the content that it's good for the consumer, not good for me, it's good for them, but they need to
Right.
grab that information and says, never thought about Robert talking today about creating a trust or putting my house in a will
Yeah.
or my testament or doing something like that. That is very unique. That's very good. I didn't think about that. Let me
Yeah.
give Robert a call to see who he can connect me with to talk more about this thing. So a lot of this, that's when really happens. The authenticity is like, you gotta get to their level, dude. That's the thing. You have to really get to their level and
Yeah.
think like they do, so that they can also provide solutions as they need them. And that's the bottom line. It's
Yeah.
like when you help enough people in this world to accomplish
Mm-hmm.
their dreams, I mean,
Right.
that's probably the best thing.
So I think want to kind of piggyback off something you just said, which was the transactional, right? I think a lot of salespeople, mostly real estate, I would say, but a good amount of salespeople, um, what happens is once the transaction's done and it's not convenient for them anymore because the timing was so convenient. If if I'm your client and the timing is just convenient for you to just pay attention to me, and then once I've bought or sold or both, you then leave me and don't talk to me, don't reach out to me, don't give me anything, completely go out of sight, out of mind. I'm not gonna buy another house next year, right? So like you've now become irrelevant to me within the first 6 months because things happen in my life and then other people bring me value and then so on and so forth, right? So I think sales agents need to stop being so driven by the transaction and convenience. Just when it's convenient for them, they reach out. Just when they want something, they reach out. And then it's interesting because when they put their own timing and convenience ahead of theirs, and then they see their house get listed by somebody else, it's like they didn't owe you anything. You owed them to be in front of them because you want to build your pipeline for the future, but they didn't owe that to you. They did the transaction. They treated you just as transactional as you treated them, right? So I
Hmm.
think one of the things we talked about with our real estate clients and what we do is like when we build out events for you, when we do your marketing plan and we talk about the events, that event is that second or third or fourth reminder. There are 36 touches before somebody becomes a client again. Not
Hmm.
just one time. There are 36 touches that have to happen between whatever time frame you are, right? So if your 36 touches are all of a sudden 8, guess what? Robert's doing 36 touches.
Hmm.
Amir's doing 36 touches. So why should Joe Smith be getting the same level of treatment and the same level of the same ball playing field, right? And when they're not the ones reaching out. So I think that also the authenticity of that is the commitment you make to your people. Um, I think one of the things, and I'm on your website now. I think one of the things that's like the core value you have is the commitment and relationship, right? So we strive to build lifelong relationships through kindness, humility, and caring. You have stayed on point with that the whole time. And then one of the other things, one of the first, and I don't know if this is in straight order, but one of the first core values you have is show up. We
Hmm.
show up every day and devote our body, mind, and hearts to our agent, partners, and customers. We are all in. To go back to your example, that customer wasn't all in. That customer was just testing waters, right? So then you stayed, even though it cost you thousands, you
Hmm.
stayed true to your core values. So that's I think how it can help you build that trust and brand loyalty is through the continuous commitment to your core values and how that can help. So let's go on to that second thing we talked about, which is what we call beyond buzzwords, right? Just don't just use buzzwords, but like buzzwords are great to get the attention, but it has to be truly embodying your brand's values and mission, right? So what does authenticity look like? So authenticity has to be, as I just said, more than just a buzzword, right? I'm just an authentic person. This is who I am. Well, is it like, and what have you shown to say that this is who you are? Like, what commitment have you given that? So let's go back to your example. If you would have decided to take that client out again and show them houses on Saturday, you're not authentic. You
Nope.
you didn't stay true to your word. You lied and you allowed that person to take advantage of your time. So you show up, they don't show up, right? So that doesn't work. And then it has to truly embody your values and your mission, right? So if your value is show up, but it doesn't embody that, then are you really, are you just using it as a buzzword, right? So if your mission is to build this lifelong relationship with your clients so that they always, forget the business side of it, but you build this lifelong relationship with your clients that you're continuously in front of them. Is it, is it like, are you being true if you're not the one actually reaching out and not treating them as a transaction? So it's all about the transparency, being relatable, and the main thing, which I think we're all starting to forget, is being human.
Right, right, right,
Just be
exactly.
a human being. Be a human being. You don't have to make it. Just be human. You mess up. I'm sorry. I messed up. You forget to give them a call. Listen, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have done it. If that client would have called you, right, and said, Robert, you're right. You drove, and I'll say it, you drove a good 30, 40 minutes to get to that client, right? You drove 30 to 40 minutes. We were dishonest or we were disrespectful to your time. I'm sorry. I want to be, I'm a human being. I made a mistake. Will you forgive me? Can we do this again tomorrow? That you would have, knowing you would have been like, that's cool. We're just going to make sure we're on the same page and we're good to go. Right. So
Yep,
being human is also, I think, one of the things that we tend to forget.
exactly.
Um, we talked about, I brought up two of your core values.
Yeah.
What are your brand's core values and how do you integrate them into your marketing strategy? And you can go over the, you can go over what I just talked about as well. You don't have to just, just, you can go over all of them, but I want to know your core values, or Capital Crest's core values, and then how do you integrate them into your marketing strategy?
So number one is show up. Two is commitment and relationship. Three is innovation. Four is trust, and five is diversity. Okay, so those are the things that we the values I have installed among the agents of the
Hmm.
company,
Hmm.
and also, you helped me with this because you have a pretty good knowledge of building brands, so you did help me that,
Thank you.
so I'll give you credit to all those things. But the reality it is show up. Okay, how do these things? So I have a YouTube channel where I put videos every week to talk about everything that is
Hmm.
happening in YouTube. It is not necessarily specific to Montgomery County area,
Right.
it can be all nationwide. So every Thursday a video goes out, gets published. So I show up, record the
Hmm.
video, send it for editing, comes back, make some changes, and it goes up for. So I show up every Thursday to this, my commitment to people. Then I go to commitment and relationships, right? So my
Hmm.
commitment and relationship, I am committed to provide my clients the best information I can and that it is available. And if that is still not enough for them, I will go and find it out there in order to preserve the relationship and continue with the commitment. And in the way that I expect is the client will also
Hmm.
recognize the effort that I made to get this information to them. Innovation. So in order to sell houses in a, whether it's a seller's market or a buyer's market or help a client, I use all the innovation I can, like the help of AI for images, for picture editing, for photography, for the listings, or for just creating the scripts that are needed to call on behalf of a client that wants to move and live in a
Hmm.
specific neighborhood. So I do all those things. I use the best technology that is available, and
Hmm.
that operates within the framework of the scope of the law in real estate. Trust, right? So once I tell people what I'm gonna do, they now
Hmm.
expect me to deliver.
Right.
And as I deliver those things and I communicate what I'm delivering to them,
Hmm.
that's when that builds trust. Yeah, I can be nice over a video call or a face-to-face interview with a client, and I can do all this dancing and tapping of everything that I will be doing. But if I overpromise and underdeliver, I am not building trust. I'm actually breaking the breach of
Right.
trust. And lastly will be diversity. And this is something that I really like because it says, I'm reading literally from what it means for us. It says,
Sure.
individuals are unique and uniqueness is powerful. And what I mean by that, it is that each person is going to be different.
Right.
If I had a call this morning and a buyer appointment interview with a referral that I received, these guys from Brazil, and he's
Mm-hmm.
explaining to me, he says, hey, I work for the government and I never bought a house here, but the way you buy houses in America versus in Brazil, it's totally different. And can you help me understand, the process more? Because I need to educate myself. And I explained to him what the process is. I am very familiar of the process. He's used to it, but I'm also very
Right.
familiar to the process here in America. So at the end of the day, he said to me, it should be a good thing that if in my country back in Brazil they should use this system that would allow empower more people to these
Right.
things. But it says, but somebody has to explain it to me. So those things, I suppose, really,
Yeah.
really makes you unique and makes this whole
Right.
thing to work well. I may or may not win his business. I don't know. I still have to do
Sure.
work to make sure that he trusts me. But
Sure.
if I can take him where the island that he's been, mentally speaking, this safe island where he feels like every real estate agent out there is just a shark and they just want to eat a
Yeah.
piece of what he has in his hand. If I can
Sure.
take him out of his safe island and put him on another safe island where I'll go and meet him, so that from that point we can sail and go to all these other little mini islands that are called
Sure.
neighborhoods where we're going to see homes.
Yeah.
I think that's, if I can do that, I think this is something. And this is a guy with PhD degrees. This is not your average Joe. This is a guy with PhD in science and biology and
Sure.
works for NIH. So with that in mind, if you can, and I get it, I am not the real estate for everybody. I am not. It is just a reality.
Yeah.
There's going to be some people that are going to work with me and others that are
Mm-hmm.
not going to want to work with me, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But if I am able to get people to that level and just to simply understand how
Yeah.
authentic I am with the things I want to transmit to them, I think that's,
Mm-hmm.
with that, even if they don't work with me, that's fine.
Sure. I think one of the things, and I get this question, I would say probably once or twice a day, sometimes even more. They say, and it's interesting because we have an ad running right now for roofers. And it's like, meet Joe. Joe does da 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 da. And one of the comments, and it's interesting because when you see the comments, it's kind of funny. One of the comments said, gosh, I wish I would have wrote it down, but it was something like, so it said, so what, they should come pay you money so you can give the same lead to 200 people. It doesn't work that way, right?
No.
Like, people are unique, and it's the if your thought process is that, if your thought process is this person's going to sell the same, like, it's not like I am selling this one pen to 50 agents. It's, there are many, many pens out there in the world, right? There is the Mont Blanc pen, there is the Sharpie pen, there's the Bic pen, there is this pen and that pen, and is it a Rolly, is it a point .7, is it a 2? There are so many different varieties of pens out there. If I run an ad for every single pen talking about the characteristic of this pen, right? Like, I personally like the point .5. What the heck does that mean? I don't know. I just like this type of pen, right? Like, if I personally like that type of pen, but I see and I love the brand Sharpie. If I see a Mont Blanc, I don't want the Mont Blanc. I'm not going to interact with it. That is the difference that people need to understand, that everybody is unique. The
Mhm.
diversity comes from who you are, what you do, and why do you do what you do, because your why and my why and everybody else's why is completely different.
Mhm.
It is completely different. The what we do and how we do it is the same. What I do is I generate leads for business owners, no matter what industry they're in. How I do it is the kick ass system that we've built with search engine optimization and lead generation. What you do is you help people buy and sell their homes. How you do it is the same way that you've done it and everybody else does it. But the why, the nucleus of all of that stuff is what makes people different. And so that's why I think that unique perspective of why you should be authentic is so important. If you
Correct.
are authentic to who you are, if you're authentic to your beliefs and your values, people align with that. And people
Correct.
do not have a problem paying for something, even if it means it's a little bit more, as long as they love what the brand stands for.
Hmm.
Can I go get a phone that's cheaper than this iPhone? Absolutely. Absolutely. Of course I can. But do I love my iPhone because not necessarily like do I believe in their stance and da 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 da, but have I built a loyalty with them? Sure. I've had many
Hmm.
iPhones. That's
Hmm.
loyalty,
Hmm.
right?
Exactly.
Is it because of the green text and blue text? I don't know. Maybe it is. I don't care. I have built a loyalty to that brand. I am comfortable with that brand. And even though it's going to cost me $2,000 to get this specific phone,
Hmm.
I'm gonna still pay it because I
Hmm.
want it, right? So like that uniqueness. Now, this phone, right, and an Android, right? Like, do they do the same thing? Pretty much. What they do is the same. How they do it is pretty much, toss up the same as well with the processors and da 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 da. But at the end of the day, the why I buy it is what's that unique. So that is your what authenticity looks like. Um, and I think that's what that true the transparency of it looks like as well. We are going to go on to the next segment, which is how do we put all of the stuff we talked about, the authenticity, the practical tips of it, right? So we always try to bring you some sort of practical tips towards the end of the show so that, excuse me, you're not just walking away going, okay, well, that was fine, but like, what do I do? Want to give you some kind of homework to do. Although I never did my homework, but we want to give you some homework to do. So, but before we get to the homework part, before we get to the broccolis on our plate, let's hear a word from our sponsor. My name is Amir Tabrizi, and I am the owner and the chief growth officer here at Agency 270. Agency 270 is a full service digital marketing team. We focus on search engine optimization, paid ads, your Google business profile, videos, video editing and optimization, posting your videos, social media management, and podcast recording and editing. Why we do what we do is because we want to help you and your message to get out in front of the world. We want to make sure that we're highlighting our clients so that they are the consumer's choice. We do that through the power of digital marketing. Ask yourself this question. If you go onto Google right now and type in your name or type the problem that you solve and you're not coming up as one of the first 2, 3 choices, there's a problem there. You are losing out business to your competitor. Don't settle for next to best. Don't settle for second. Don't settle for third. Let us help you get you to the number one spot on Google. Give me a call today. Go on our website at agency270.com. Send us an email at marketing@agency270 or give us a call 301 310 6148. Again, that's 301 310 6148. Back to our show. Welcome back. So we are talking about authenticity in marketing. Authenticity in general, I would say, but of course the marketing with realness. So we've talked about why it matters, right? We talked about why it matters. We talked about going beyond the buzzwords, right? So what does authenticity actually look like? But what I want to go into now is how do you put it into action? What are some of the practical tips that you can use on your day-to-day business life or your life or however it is, whether you're a consultant, you're a coach, or you're a sales agent, whatever? How can you use some of these practical tips? So, Robert, what I'll ask you to do is maybe pick one or two of these 5 practical tips, and then give us kind of your take on it, and I'll try to do maybe one or two just outside of what you do, so we can kind of cover most of it. So now that we've explored the importance of authenticity, let's get practical, right? Or I'm sorry, let's get tactical. Here are some of the actionable tips that you guys can use to implement. Focus on storytelling. Share your brand story, your values, and the people behind the business. I love that part of it, the people behind the business.
Hmm.
Embrace user generated content. Encourage your audience to share their experience with your brand. This becomes your testimonials. We love video testimonials. If they're willing to get on a camera and shoot a quick video testimonial,
Mm-hmm.
volumes.
Mm-hmm.
Be transparent. Don't be afraid to show your human side. Address the challenges and be open to feedback. I don't mean post what your challenges are on Facebook and get grilled by your friends and have it go down the rabbit hole. Ask your ask your clients what their experience was and don't get defensive. Don't get defensive. Just ask them and see if you can actually fix it. I ask my clients all the time, what was your experience? How did you like the form you filled out, to the onboarding process, to the sales call? Did you feel like I pressured you? Be transparent, ask those questions, and then do your best. Do your best to not take it personal. They're not attacking you. They're just
Mm-hmm.
sharing with you what their feelings and their thoughts were when
Mm-hmm.
they were going through the process.
Yep. Yep.
Engage in two-way conversations. Respond to the comments, answer the questions, and build relationships with your audience. Again, I'm not asking you to respond to that hateful comment that somebody left about you. Like the one thing I said, like we did an ad, the ad that I was just talking about. The guy came in and said, you're going to sell the same lead to 200 people. I didn't necessarily think it was the best thing to go back and forth with him to try to explain to him, because he's already in a very defensive stance. And me going back and typing something out, he doesn't know my emotions. He doesn't know that my tone of voice is lower. That creates this big riff in your comment section. Sure, it can go viral, but is that what you want to go viral for? So I just chose to not address that. If that's what that person thinks, then they're not the right person for me. One, two, they haven't really looked into my brand and like listened to this podcast and the videos and to see what I do. So, but engage in those conversations. If somebody's asking a question, answer it. The other day, I think when you and I are both in this Facebook group, somebody posted something about like YouTube SEO. And I was like, hey, listen, nobody can guarantee you a certain amount of likes and right? You can do certain things with like your title and your meta and your tags and My goal of putting that in there was to engage in a conversation. It wasn't to sell anything. It was just simple engagement. Let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing, which I hope this is one thing you talk about, be consistent. Authenticity is a journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a destination.
Mm-hmm.
Maintain a consistent voice and message across all of your marketing channels. Robert cannot be diverse and innovative in one segment, and then the next thing is like, yeah, I don't like that. Be consistent. Not just about posting, because we all understand how important it is to post, but being consistent with your messaging and understanding that it is a journey. It is not I start today and finish it tomorrow. It is the continuous lifeline of your brand that it has to be consistently. That has to be the message. That has to be the thing. So, storytelling, user generated content,
Mm-hmm.
being transparent,
Mm-hmm.
engaging in two-way conversations, and
Mm-hmm.
be consistent.
Yep.
Take one or two that you want to talk about and give us a little bit more information, or tell us how you, as the content producer and salesperson and team lead and all the hats you wear, tell us how you put those into action into your brand and marketing.
So the storytelling it's one of the big ones for real estate, because often in this industry, some people will come to me and say, "Hey, Robert, we're thinking about buying a house. A cousin of my wife bought a house and only put 3% down, and the seller gave him $20,000 towards closing cost, and you know, and some other goodies." And I'm like, okay. So the first question I will ask people is that what you're looking for? Or do you want something better than that? And this is,
Mm-hmm.
no, that's kind of what we're looking for. I said, okay, can you tell me more about the house that this person bought? And they'll tell me more about the house, tell me about the story. But they don't, the thing is, I said, okay, let me now tell you that without knowing the details, let me just tell you the story, what I think it happened in that transaction. And you're more than happy to check with your cousin, your relative, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And as I tell the story, of how these things could potentially happen, then they start to analyze, and they're on their own, they said maybe it's not what we want. So it
Right.
is very important that you always tell a good story in everything you do, because that's what really help you not convince someone, but
Yeah.
to take that person from a place of I'm dreaming of this to
Right.
this is what I really want and need and I can afford. So that's one of my favorite things when people come to me and said, I'm coming to you because of this and this. And another thing I always done in the past is when I've gone to an appointment and for some reason this client did not hire me to represent him or her or them in the sale of a house or purchase of a house. I always go back and say, hey, can you tell me the story behind why you didn't hire me? I just need to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And many times that really helps you to reshape your strategy. Or sometimes you say, you know, I did right. I just could not. I just these people were not meant to work with me, and that's just the how it is. So I think it's
Right.
very important that tell the story. It is the most important thing. This is not a lecture. This is not a test. This is not an exam. This is not a quiz. This is just really how real life happens. And the more you tell people, hey, during this process we found these obstacles, but we very immediately found the solutions and decided to shift the strategy. I think that it is really what someone is looking. It's the how knowledgeable are you in a period of time in which you can steer that boat and go in a whole different direction. It's still to the same destination, but you're now just going to either avoid the big waves. Are you going to avoid the swells? What are you going to avoid? But you're going to
Mm-hmm.
make it pleasant for this person to enjoy the breeze of this boat that you're taking them to
Yeah.
their destination. And that's all it is. I mean, if you remember, most of us when we fly on an airplane, we do remember those bumpy rides. Like, oh my gosh, that flight was so bumpy, man. I was holding all this turbulence. I was crazy. I thought I was gonna die.
Yeah.
But those are very pleasant. It's just like, oh my gosh, we got there. It was so easy. The
Right.
pilot was so nice. The staff. So it's the story, guys. It's just the better you can tell it, the better you can sell it.
The better you tell, the better you sell. I think one of the things I like that you mentioned is, and I think it's one of the things I think it's one of the things that you do so well is you listen. I think a lot of times in sales, we don't listen. We tend to just talk and not know when to shut up and listen. So I think that's huge. And then because I think through that you can identify what's reality and what are their wishes,
Mhm.
right? So the storytelling of it, like understanding how to tell the story, or you know, share that value as well. So I really wanted to highlight on that. It's like you need to learn to listen, because when you listen, you pick up keywords, and those keywords becomes their trigger points, and then you can ease those trigger points, and then help you make a sale. Um, okay. Any other one?
That's the one that I really like the
No.
most. Yeah, that's the
Okay.
one that I like the
Okay. Good.
most. Yeah.
Good. I think for me, I mean, I already talked about the transparency and the two-way conversations, but I do think, and the consistency as well. But I do think listening to your audience is also huge, in any brand building you do. It's again, it goes back to listening to trigger points and pain points, and how can you actually build a following to what it is you talk about. But I think one of the main things is, to go back to your storytelling. I think talking about the people behind a business is also very important.
Hmm.
Like at Agency 270, it's not just me. There is plenty of other people that actually do the heavy lifting. So talking about them, or like asking them, like what are some things you guys think I should talk about. um I think things like, days in the life. Like there's a guy out of the UK. um he runs a company called Asheville Aggregates or something like that, or Asheville something Asheville. And he does Asheville weekly. So every week He launches an episode and it takes him through his week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And he shows in this 20-minute video everything, not everything, the highlights of his day, whatever he can show. For someone who's that consistent and really focused on storytelling, that's huge because he's now building a following around him that like he's now building microphones that are yelling his brand and his, what he does behind it. So I love those like day in the life stuff because it shows you like the true things that happen, and it also shows his people that work with him. It's not these people work for me, it's these people work with me. We pull the wagon at the same time in the same direction. I'm not sitting on top of that wagon saying, hey man, y'all pull because of my title I deserve to sit here. Man, it doesn't work that way. We need to be all in this together, pulling or pushing the same direction. And it's huge. It's really big. So that wraps up today's episode. We appreciate you joining us. We hope that you take something good out of this with your authenticity and what you can do. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, or anything you want us to talk about, feel free to email us at marketing@agency270. And that is marketing@agency270.com. Or you can go on the Agency 270 website and leave us a comment of what it is you guys want us to hear to talk about. You can find this podcast on any of the major platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and different things like that. We also do a video version of this as well on YouTube, so you can feel free to subscribe to us there. Robert, any parting words, my friend?
No, thank you. Thank you for being authentic as a brand builder. This is very important to bring this authenticity to what we do, who we are, what we do it. And I mean, there's struggles in the process. They're up and downs. And at the beginning of any business, there are more downs than up, honestly, though. And I think it's important to really acknowledge and recognize that a lot of these things are just going to happen, whether we want them to happen, whether we like them to happen. It just really happens this way. And so I do appreciate that you are bringing this to here for all of us to understand the process, to understand how this works, to understand why we need to really pay attention to a lot of these things, because it's just really important. There's really not a lot of people out there that are helping other people build brands that are relying on core values, that they stick to them and they work on that. So for that, I commend you, my friend, for taking the initiative to doing this. Continue the good job, and I hope I get invited to the next one.
Well, you're in it for the long haul, so it's kind of those things where it's like whether you like it or not, you're coming back. So, as we'd say, you're SOL, my friend. I appreciate the kind words, I do. And with that, I won't say anything else after that. With that, we look forward to seeing you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.